it sounds really stupid because you sort of say, well, you're a teacher, you've got fucking 6 weeks off, the whole thing must just be one big DOS house. But it ain't. You know, you really have to go out and spend 500 quid on a new laptop and you go to the next month or go to the next month or
yet, is there? pretty close now. One person's joined so far. If I can see anything in chat, then I haven't been doing any commenting so far. But whoever that is, I'm just out on a afternoon walk, testing the data again, coming to an area where the signal I know isn't too strong. I was just tweaking a few things. These are the woods in between my part of what's called the Old Town, and then just behind there you've got, just beyond those trees, the houses and then the main road. That's what I like about this area. Then just here, then you're in thick woodland then. Oh, it's Vagabond, hello. So you live in Leeds then, do you? Yes, well I just did a Facebook live stream earlier to vent about some local building work with HS2. If you have me on Facebook, I just did a live stream on there because I'm testing, in a way, prompted by globalised stuff. Well, at least YouTube then is being honest with the viewers, because then it said naught, but even on I was streaming on here the other day, and even I thought on here it was lying, because people were in chat and then it said naught. I know this account has been meddled with when it got blocked from the Really Woke channel. Basically, I live in Amersham, Buckinghamshire, so it's Stockbroker Belt, it's in the Chilterns, kind of on the edge, a bit of the way in. I come from a village near here, but HS2 is basically going from this area all the way up to the Midlands. Absolute rubbish. basically there's some work going on next to me in a waterworks building where the water company is then doing some work to upgrade the pump in there, and there's been all this building work going on, and then in some fields nearby there's work going on. If you're on Facebook I can show you the stream, but I'll do that when I'm going to be back in about 15-20 minutes, but this is kind of one of the nearest woodlands. So you're up in Leeds, and is it, or the Midlands somewhere? I'm still getting to know people really. Obviously, I know I've got to know Roxanne and who else? System Failure and who else? And Aceta, I've got to know them more. Something going on this weekend, I may or may not go, but got a few things on I'm trying to get done because it's my birthday on the 17th, and talking of Q, well, I'm born on the 17th of the 8th. So that's kind of another thing which interests me. But again, as I was saying, I only take the parts to be true which I know I can verify with other sources, namely numbers. But yes, this is it's actually going uphill a bit here. It's actually surprising when you're walking uphill and you're trying to talk on the YouTube stream how it can make a difference. But I was basically walking through the woodland here, and then I'm coming back out into the field now. These woods I used to walk through all the time when I was at school, because basically I've gone past it on now. Oh, the dogs have come to say hello. Hello? I will not keep the dogs. Well, at least the dog's friendly, because some dogs I think that's a Jack Russell, is it? I'm not an expert on dogs, but I know that some of them yap. Yes, in the distance there, you can see on that hill, that's HS2 shit. I'm now, behind me is the new town where the railway goes, behind those trees, and the HS2 rubbish will be coming under basically they're putting a tunnel through the Chilterns, because it's hilly round here. It's interesting with my nickname Lunderground, because I originally developed that as a nickname on a Yahoo group. At the time I was actually living in Northwood in a place called Middlesex, so on the outskirts of London. I then moved to a place called Uxbridge. I don't come from London, I come from this area, I come from Buckinghamshire. Then down there is the old town, and then in between you've got there's like a road up there, and then this fits countryside, and then you can see over there. So then where I actually am is actually I look over onto fields, but then you can see in the distance there, because this is Streamlabs, I can't zoom in. If you can on the HS2 on the YouTube app, then it's best to stream from that because you can zoom, but anyone who has less than 1,000 subscribers like me, I cannot stream on the main YouTube app, which was one of the things I was talking about on the group, on the Really Woke group a while ago, because then anyone can live stream like this. Some people are now aware. I know that Brian's was talking about it with StreamYard. Basically, I'm about 400 feet above sea level. Then you've got the valley down there. There's a main road going up that hill towards a place called Beaconsfield, and you can get to the M40 that way. London is, and those hills over there you can't really see. Then that's like looking south towards. That's like looking south towards Windsor over there. Well, in the far distance, you could actually. There's a hill over there you can go up that hill, and then the particular point you can actually see Windsor Castle. And Windsor Castle is only 150 feet high. It's at least 20 miles away, so that alone disproves the curve. Anywhere around here where you've got hills that you can see reasonably far. This is Amersham Old Town. I actually went to school in this town, and then funnily enough I then got offered a flat. I wanted to move back to this area, but then it's just very funny, I actually moved back to this particular area. Because that church down there is where my brother got married, one of them. And then up there is where I went to school, behind those trees, and then I used to walk down here sometimes to when there were services on, and a few times in the pub. Officially this is a doomsday book, but obviously official history is to be greatly questioned, but nevertheless the old town is clearly older than the new town. Whenever the railway came, that's it was built as a British rail line, and then something happened in the 60s, and then for some reason the Metropolitan line, but then all came. Well, it used to be that, I think, but then it's some peculiar thing, because actually the newest underground station here, the newest station here is actually on the London Underground. That's the strange thing. You wouldn't think this is the London Underground around here, would you? Particularly if you were here, but then only half a mile up there is a London Underground station, but because it's on the Metropolitan line, then it's actually more like a suburban line, really. But then for some peculiarity is that it ended up being continued as part of that, and thus it makes the fares a bit cheaper. Yes, you know, I'd like to light a barbecue, maybe sometime this weekend, but yes, you know, this is what's strange in that my nickname's Londonground. The nearest station is actually a London Underground station, but then only half a mile here, and this is obviously more countryside than... This is like going into, say, somewhere into Hertfordshire or Essex or Surrey or Kent. Yes, you know, it looks like Kent or Surrey here, doesn't it, or Bucks. It's certainly not like... I'd say London, you know, once you get up to, say, Harrow. So that's just one peculiarity. London is about 25 miles away. If you were say going out the other side of London, that's like as far out as maybe Basildon. Yes, you know, I know, what time is it now? Yes, it's about 5:35. Got the time's getting on. I had a meeting this afternoon, so I was just coming out for a walk just to get some air. But even here, it's at least about 90 Fahrenheit here. Oh, yes, the sun's over there. Look. There's been some lovely sunsets recently, actually. Around this time of year, the sun sort of sets. Then it goes a bit where you see those rays, and then maybe a bit more towards the right, and then it kind of sets. Then you're in the old town over there, and then you can see it right at the end of the high street, and it looked very picturesque the other day. Then the sun was coming down, and the church. You can see the church, and then in the background there was all this red sky. I should have had some device with me to take pictures then. This is a tree that fell down in a wind back early in the year. Yes, it's nice to have Vagabond on. What I'm trying to do now is to get my place tidy and have some kind of visitors around, certainly for my birthday. Yes, the other day I came in here with my neighbour and we climbed up a bit. We were on here drinking. That was strange when was it Friday or Saturday? No, Saturday, that's it. Well, after I'd been to the stand-up thing in London, then I got back to Amsterdam Station and my neighbour was out for a run. And I bumped into him and I was thinking of going to the pub anyway, because Tesco's was closed. And then we went for a drink and then had a few beers on there. I remember now. Well, at least one person's come on. Any more? Got to check all my data tariffs now and everything. But I just wanted to do this just to get out and to get it known that I'm going to make streams about these things and things that are bothering me. This is a classic view I've always had for years walking down from school. Anyone in my school will instantly recognise this view. Sort of one of those views imprinted in me for a long time. The same as when you come home in the car and that certain sign, well in my case the cat was always in the driveway, waiting. Going down to the old town now. I was going to kind of finish it earlier, but then if somebody came on, I know now that Robin show's on. For those from Global Island. So probably someone watching that. Between now and my birthday, it's getting that flat absolutely clean. Not being distracted by all this nonsense. Socialist care rubbish. It's literally trying to fill my mind with so much crap to then prevent me from taking the action that I am doing now, the real action that I've been saying for years, and people keep saying to me, oh, you're going to take this and that legal action. Well, yes, I have been trying to be more proactive, but then so many other transgressions have happened that I then have to make notes of and read things about and to see where the law has been contravened, because I'm going to do that when It's supposed to be all this social care rubbish, and then nothing like as bad as the thick of it, of course, but still a similar kind of situation where then the calibre of the people and the employees and the staff I'm dealing with get less and less, and more lies get told and things don't get planned. Messages don't get passed on properly, or clear and out lies are told, or misconduct. I think just half the time, because they're so incompetent, they forget what the other person thinks or says. They forget what I think. They literally completely underestimate how I think and what I'm going to notice, such as myself not noticing people being let into the building. And even then, that Chris there saying yes, well, he said yes. He thought he was saying yes to be sarcastic. No, I've recorded him now down as when I said Stokely broke the law, and he said yes. Quite think what these critics quite realise what they're getting in for. These are some allotments. We've come down the hill now. See, it's quite a hill there. Coming to the back of the old town now. Yes, and even here, one thing I've noticed is that some of the pubs haven't been opened yet in the cafes. So the fucking COVID idiots going to take away half the businesses now, are they? And they're still then going to think there should be a lockdown. Nobody has jobs. Cemetery here. But I know that when I went around the town later last week, I couldn't see some of the pubs open. I'll do some more Facebook streams about that. Just to go around the local area and actually see what businesses are actually open now, or which businesses haven't opened, or are planning to open but haven't quite yet because they think they've got to comply with all this nonsense. Then the ones which haven't opened at all, or cannot reopen because of this communist COVID idiocy. COVID starts CO, communism, Corbyn, netology there. This is the church where my brother got married, and it ends up that I moved half a mile away. The street. This is called the River Misbourne. This goes to the village I come from. These are some gardens there. Let's go this way. Either here or certainly around here, because I'm not going to do another long distance thing, unlike with Tamersham. Well, that went wrong. My ex. Knew her locally, but certainly after that I wouldn't do another long distance thing again. And particularly after how that ended up. Find somebody nice and local, and maybe even here, somewhere like this, I would end up getting married. It looks quite grey at the moment. I think there might be a thunderstorm later, it looks like it, but it is at least 32. It's at least 90 Fahrenheit now, even now. 5:42. What does it say on my watch? $90. Now I think, yes, 32 now. Well, that's one good thing. We're having a nice hot August. And I know actually that hasn't happened meteorologically. Getting my breath there. That has not happened meteorologically since 2003, I think. So perhaps we might go back to the bit of the weather pattern we had in the 80s and 90s with much hotter summers. Yes, these are the gardens. Walk up and down here quickly and then just to see what's opened or not. It's a lovely area around here. As usual, I think with any of these social care rubbish, that is the... what's the phrase? Good is the whole philosophy in the run by corrupt drug dealers. The old town now. Yeah, these are very Tartarian. Yes, I know there are some restaurants and shops that I haven't seen open yet along here. Next I must try StreamYard and an app that I can zoom on and change the aspect ratio, and I think there is one. Well, these shops are open. Yes, it's the more regular shops. It's some of the restaurants and pubs I haven't seen open yet, but I'm going to go all the way along. Getting a bit hot and tired. This is one place I've seen that's new. This used to be the Chinese, but then that Chinese closed about a couple of years ago. So that's one new business, but then that may have only even been there since this COVID hoax anyway. What I'm talking about is the businesses that have opened beforehand. I've seen up there the Swan pub I haven't seen open yet, plus another pub. These already were. Didn't want to walk all the way up there today. Oh yes, down there the road is closed because of HS2 rubbish. It's another area I haven't gone to yet. I know that along here there's a restaurant that I haven't seen be open. Across here, I remember now. COVID communists. At least I've walked a reasonable way. I've walked about 3 miles. I must remember to put this away.
Or Sweetos.
Yes, here. This was open perfectly fine before this nonsense, and now this is closed. This was like a French restaurant. So people are out of their jobs. Some families could be out of money, etc., etc. Not that I care about anything to do with the cost of the fiat currency system, but the fact that it's then completely unnecessary bullshit, whereas beforehand and everyone said the economy was doing quite well, both in the USA and the UK. All that was the Brexit momentum. But then this COVID, communist, fake, cold shit was then put there to stop all that. Prove me wrong, because nobody can. Everyone agrees the economy was starting to do really well, particularly in England and the USA, because we had supposedly, well, at least to some degree, left the EU. But don't worry, it's all coming back in their communist filth face. A lot more now, and particularly in my case. It's given me so much more ammunition. It then gives all these social care lunatics so many more rules to remember. They then make all the more mistakes. That's what I've realised. That's how all these communist pieces of shit have to keep their jobs. There's so many rules and regulations, they then forget them themselves. And actually, that's how the Soviet Union fell. They forget how corrupt they are in their own lives. This is interesting here because look, this is a new block of flats, but as you can see, they've actually built it with the mock Tartarian half-buried windows. And I know that was not like that originally because this wasn't here 3 years ago. So, mock Tartarian. Got to keep an eye out for that in future. I'm going to finish it now. But just to show a few things there, and to show how legally on what shaky grounds all those idiots who have been imposing all this nonsense recently, even today. I don't need to say any more now really, because I've got so much on some people that I shouldn't, and of course I won't, because I'm now rock solidly confident of what I know my landlord is guilty of, and etc, etc. And I think in the overall picture how this COVID nonsense is going to blow up more and more, with just so many people seeing, particularly as I think we get into the winter time. That's my thought of the day. They're all saying that by the winter time it's going to get worse and worse in terms of the so-called second wave rubbish. No, the lines will become clearer and clearer, because then there will clearly not be people who are ill like that. Because I know for many all this nonsense has woken up to the germ theory, so there will be even more conscious of that. Then I predict this winter there will be even less people with the flu, and it'll really become clear about the line to 2021, because it's all about Agenda 2021. China, 1949 year of the ox, 2021 year of the ox. That's why, and I know others on Twitter have come up with this, that China is the key to all of this. That's why they're so desperate and they're so in such a rush now to get all. It's complete bullshit when you know it takes years to develop those, and they can suddenly develop them in 6 months. Absolute rubbish. But China is key for Agenda 2021, and then they fail for good, I think. That's my thought for the day. Anyway, good.